Okay, so are you ready to like dive deep into this? Because today we're going to be looking into like human behavior and resilience, but through a really unique lens.
Ooh, I like that unique lens part. Tell me more.
Okay, so imagine like getting a peek into like private thoughts and conversations of just everyday people.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
And that's kind of what we have today, right? It's this collection of like totally anonymized notes and conversations.
Interesting.
And they each touch on these really personal life challenges, relationships, and even just, like moments of growth.
I'm listening. Yeah.
So it's almost like you're getting a glimpse into like multiple lives at once,
Uh-huh.
right? Like they're all navigating these ups and downs.
Uh,
And so what we're going to try to do is like extract little nuggets of wisdom that I think we can all relate to.
I love that. Let's go for it.
And luckily we have like the perfect person to help us do this.
Aw, shucks.
Yeah.
You're making me blush.
So our expert specializes in like deciphering patterns in human behavior and, like they can find wisdom in the most ordinary experiences.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I do love a good puzzle. And this sounds like a fascinating one.
So like one of the things that really jumped out at me from reading through these notes was like the theme of relationships.
Okay, relationships. That's broad.
Yeah. But it's like partners, family, friends, even dynamics at work, like it's all in there.
Gotcha.
And the language is like so raw and honest, it's kind of striking.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, so one person wrote, lately he's been reminding me more of his dad, but at least he comes to his senses and apologizes.
Ooh. Yeah, you can just feel the tension in that one, right?
Right. It's like you get this little glimpse into their family dynamics and how they're like trying to work through stuff.
And it speaks to a deeper need, too, don't you think? Like this need for connection and reconciliation.
Totally. Even when there's conflict, it's like we still want to come back together and understand each other.
Exactly. It's like this primal human need.
And it's not just family either. I mean, look at this note. I have been asked to do more and more by both of them, and it's really unfair.
Sounds familiar. I think we've all felt that way at some point.
Right. Like being pulled in different directions, maybe at work and at home, and trying to set boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries are so important
Yeah,
and so hard to figure out sometimes.
for sure. I mean, you want to be helpful and capable and like please everyone.
Right, but sometimes you got to put yourself first.
Yeah.
It's not selfish, it's self-preservation.
So you can show up better for everyone else.
Exactly.
Okay, now this next one is interesting. It's about navigating cultural differences.
Ooh, okay, let's hear it.
This person wrote, I think a lot of the problem is just understanding my culture and not being afraid of the relationship with the boys.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
I know, right? You can feel the hesitation, but also like the desire to connect despite the differences.
It's like they're stepping outside their comfort zone and choosing curiosity over fear.
And that's a good lesson for all of us, I think,
Absolutely.
especially in today's world.
So, another thing that came up a lot in these notes was work stress. No surprise there, right? It's like the universal language of the 21st century.
It really does feel that way. It's like this constant backdrop to everything else.
And it makes sense, right? I mean, there's so much pressure to perform, to achieve, to keep hustling.
Yeah, and it can lead to some pretty big life decisions.
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, check this out. I have been thinking a lot differently about retirement possibility after that day at work.
Wow. Just one day can really shift your perspective, huh?
It's like those little moments that trigger something bigger.
Right. It's like the universe is giving you a sign.
And speaking of signs, there were a lot of notes about setting goals and overcoming obstacles.
Yeah, that goal-directed behavior is fascinating, isn't it?
I know. And, they talk about having a plan and being specific about what they want to achieve.
Right. You can't just wish for something. You got to work for it.
Totally. And like this one person said, I decided I'm going to give it a year.
Okay, so they're setting a timeline. I like it.
It's like creating that sense of accountability and urgency.
And it's a great example of resilience, too.
How so?
Well, they're not giving up even when things are tough. They're giving it their all for a set period of time, and then they'll reevaluate.
It's like they're acknowledging the difficulty, but still staying optimistic.
Exactly. It's like this one note I saw where they said, I am getting a lot of hours, but I don't think it will mess up my school.
Oh, yeah, that one's amazing.
Yeah.
They're clearly determined to make it work.
And that positive self-talk is so important. When you're facing a challenge, you got to believe in yourself.
But what about when things get really tough?
Well, that's where reframing comes in.
Reframing. What's that?
It's basically like looking at the situation from a different angle, finding the silver lining or the lesson.
So instead of seeing a setback as a failure, you see it as a learning opportunity.
Exactly. And it can be a really powerful tool for staying resilient.
I like that. And it makes me think about celebrating those little wins along the way.
Oh, yeah, those